Stephen A. Smith is the highest paid sportscaster in the country. He works for ESPN, does a morning show. And he has done extraordinarily well at the Disney Corporation. He's by far and away their most popular sports guy. But you may have noticed over the last year or so that Stephen A. has gone into public policy somewhat. He appears on News Nation, he appears on Sean Hannity's program, and he talks about very important things other than sports. Okay, because of that, Stephen A. has put himself in a position to criticize both parties. And James Carville took exception to Smith's criticism of the Democrats. Roll it.
When it comes to sports, I find him to be really insightful. When it comes to politics, he don't know his ass from a hole in the ground. He's on that running his mouth about how he may have to run as a Democrat because there's nothing left of the Democratic Party. There's no talent. Stephen A., you me?
First order of business. Sir, do you have to be so rude? You know, dropping F-bombs and going off like that. I mean, I know that's your nature. I understand that, but let's just say two can do that, you know. I mean, if you really wanted to get raw, ain't nobody hiding from that. I could be that way. It's just that my mama taught me to respect my elders. And you are 80 years of age, if I remember correctly.
Joining us now from New Jersey is Stephen A. Smith. I think that's why you like me, because I'm so old. I think now I got it. Now your mother said, hey, when these guys get old, you got to treat them pretty well. Okay.
Well, you're old and wise, so it all works.
And I'm still good looking, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah. Listen, that's for somebody else to say, but you look good, Bill. You look good.
It's all that Botox. So over the past few weeks, the Washington Post, the New Yorker magazine, the New York Times Athletic, the New York Post, Fox News, News Nation have all done features on you about your political future, in their estimation. It's not like you've said anything exactly like that. Why do you think that is? Why are you getting so much attention in this area?
Because I do something that the Democratic Party doesn't do at this particular moment in time. I resonate. It's really that simple. And I'm not saying that to brag on myself. I'm saying that to highlight the desolate state of affairs that exists within the Democratic Party. They haven't been very, very impressive, collectively speaking, of course. And I think that when you see the election and what the election results revealed, Donald Trump gets 77 million votes. He wins the popular vote. He wins the Electoral College vote. He wins every swing state. He's up in like 50 counties. He gave her a run for her money in New York. They improved in California. And obviously they won the Senate. They won the House, and they maintained, their stake in the House. In the Senate. They won the Senate, and they maintained their stake in the House as well. You take all of those things into account, and there's just no question that the Democratic Party is in dire straits right now. And so when you hear me pointing out some of the things that I pointed out, I'm not one of those guys, Bill, who believes that because you think differently than me, you're a racist. You're anti-black.
No, you don't play that. I've never heard you play that card.
I don't play that game.
Why do you think Carville gets so upset about this? What is it that you're doing that annoys him?
Well, you know this better than me because you're the veteran in politics over the last 50, 60 plus years, 50 years plus. I'm not going to go the 60 route because you're not that old. But here's the deal. In the end, when you look at a guy like James Carville, who came across as a bit truculent to say the least, I think that, first of all, he misquoted me. I did not say there was no talent in the Democratic Party. I said there was no one who was resonating. They did not have a voice. I happen to know Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland. He's a friend of mine. I mean, I like him a great, great deal. We've become friends. I enjoyed my interview with Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. I just finished interviewing a few minutes ago minority leader of the House, Mr. Hakeem Jeffries. So it's not like the Democratic Party is devoid of talent. That's not what I said. But they are devoid of a voice. They are devoid of somebody who resonates on a national level. And I think James Carville took exception to that primarily because he forgot that he was the one saying it too. which is why on my show, when I clapped back at him, I played some clips of him saying the same damn thing that I said, because he had been lamenting that. And I think that when
you ought to get Carville on your podcast, which is very
oh yeah,
successful.
no, I'm going on his. I'm going on his.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
because
I'm his. No problem.
there's a couple of things in play. Number one, there is no leader of the Democratic Party. Now would be my first question, Carville. Who's the leader? Chuck Schumer? Come on.
Exactly.
There's no leader. They don't have anybody.
Totally true.
Kamala resurfaced at the NAACP, didn't really make a dent, so that it's wide open. Number two, Trump opened the gates for populist candidates. And if you ever decided to get into politics, that's what you would be, a populist candidate. You would be going right to the people and say, look, I feel for you, and I'm going to, if you elect me, I'm going to try to solve some of your problems. That's what Trump did. And it's been very successful for Trump. But right now, the Democratic Party is disarray, and Carville knows that, but it just seems to be he was insulted
and not listening to him. That's where his real frustration comes from. And I'm not, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they shouldn't listen to him. I think they should have listened to him. But I think that, as is the case in our society today, on a plethora of platforms and in industries where you've got youngsters on the come up, and they sort of ease the elder statesmen out of the mix because they want to run things themselves. I deal with that in sports too, where you have an abundance of individuals who were qualified and they couldn't get a job because the youngsters were placed at the helm and they didn't want to bring somebody in more knowledgeable than them. Take into account, you know your sports a little bit, Bill O'Reilly. Bill Belichick couldn't get an NFL job. The man has won 8 Super Bowl championships, 2 as a defensive coordinator, 6 as a head coach. And when he got let go by the New England Patriots, he couldn't get a job. He had to go back to college at the University of North Carolina to get a head coach
job. They didn't want to give a guy like that control.
I know that. But what I'm saying is transitioning back to politics, you have people in positions of power within the Democratic establishment that clearly didn't want to listen to James Carville. So that could be a part of his frustration. But in the end, he came at the wrong person, because I wasn't knocking him. I thought they should have listened to him. But when he clapped back at me, I'm like, wait a minute, you've been talking the same stuff that I've been saying. You must have forgot about that. Let me remind you. And that's about as far as I
If you really want to cut through it all, and no Democrat has the courage to say this, Joe Biden destroyed the party. He destroyed it.
Yes, I said that.
But you're not, you're not in the political arena. There's nobody in Congress or working in the Democratic precincts, no governor, nobody. Wes Moore, your buddy, when you talk to him and you ask him, did Joe Biden destroy the Democratic Party? He'll say no, or he won't answer the question. Joe Biden destroyed it because he's the second worst president in our history. And it's not even close. I mean, you can never beat James Buchanan because he let the Civil War happen. But Biden, if you read my message of the day on BillO'Reilly.com, the guy, that's why Trump is bouncing up and down like, a 18-year-old on speed, because he's trying to reverse all of this stuff that's hurting every American. But the Democrats won't acknowledge that. And they also won't acknowledge that woke culture has destroyed the fabric of the party. That's what the main thing is all about, right?
You and I have been, you're absolutely right. You and I have been on TV together, and you know how I love to disagree with you, but when you're right, you're right. Damn it, I got to concede it. And you're right on the money with that, And so when you take into account, first of all, Joe Biden was supposed to leave. He was supposed to be a transitional president, and then was feeling himself when the midterms wasn't a red wave in 2022, so he decides to stay in office, basically betrays the party, and then they got to come up with some elaborate scheme to get him up out of there. That's what I firmly believe. And it turned out to backfire on them. And when you look at the actions of Trump right now, and people talk about him trying to undo so much that they have done, whether you like or dislike what Trump is doing, and there's plenty of people in the center and clearly on the left who do dislike what he is doing, it is no doubt he is trying to do exactly what he said he was going to do, which is also the antithesis of what Democrats,
Absolutely.
at least in recent memory, are known about.
He's going
so
further.
That's the bottom line. He is going further, going a bit too far.
Nobody expected him to prop up Putin. But as I wrote in my column, this is why he's propping up Putin. And there's a reason for it.
I
But
read
nobody
your column.
expected that.
It was a pretty damn good column, by the way,
Thank
too.
you.
So
And
not
there's
only
no
are you a great
pretty about
broadcaster,
it.
but you're a damn good writer. I got to give
Right.
credit where credit you. You did
You
good,
got to
Bill. You did
extract
good.
the word
But-
pretty. It's a damn good column. And that brings
It's a damn
me
good
to
column.
the damn
Okay.
good show that we're going to do on March 30th in Westbury Music Fair on Long Island Sunday. I'm taking a chance putting this show together. It's my production company.
Really?
Stephen A. was nice enough to sign on. Here's why. And I'm very interested in your point of view on this.
Okay.
The United States has descended into tribalism. It's almost like sports in the sense that you root for a team. And in some places, you'll punch out somebody who roots for another team. The United States has now descended into tribalism. And a lot of people don't want to hear anything other than what they believe. That you can see it on cable television. All right.
Correct.
What we're doing, the three of us, is we're trying to meld three different audiences into one building, one show. There's no doubt the show is going to be good. No doubt. All right. But whether the people want that kind of a presentation, that's what's on the line. Go.
Well, let me tell this to America right now as they watch the show and they get set to hear about us, see us in person, March 30th in Westbury, New York. There's a saying that's out there, Bill is talking about bringing the rain. And what we mean by that is that no holds barred. You say what you feel, you mean what you say. And we don't have to worry about the other, one of us demonizing another. You disagree with some things I say, I disagree with some things you say. The same applies to Chris Cuomo. But we respect each other, we like each other, we love being on TV or in front of the camera together, and we get along just fine. And what we do in an event like this is remind Americans that it's okay to be honest and authentic and give anybody else your perspective and your point of view. The key is having an open enough mind.
That's right.
To listen to somebody who may disagree with you.
Well, I
and
hope
feel
that's the
differently.
case.
As long as you're willing to do that, you can do it. And we do it all the time.
But I don't know in this period of history if that is going to drive people into a show. Again, the show is Westbury Music Fair, Long Island, March 30th, 3 p.m. Sunday. It's going to be a blast. Stephen A. will be there, and he promises to wear his pink jacket that he had on last night when the Celtics...
I did not promise the pink jacket that day. Not that day. I'm going to see you a couple of times before that. I might rock it before
need to see
that.
that pink jacket in person.
What is your suit game going to look like? How about that? We know my suit game is going to be up to snuff.
Look at this. GQ consults with me. That's all I have to say. Stephen A. Smith, everybody. There he is. And we'll see you soon, Stephen. Thanks for coming on.
Goodbye, man.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X. Look for @Bill O'Reilly.